As the scorching heat of the apocalypse descended upon us, my beast-man servant, Killian Holt, fell prey to a peculiar ailment that made him as pale as a daisy. Despite both of us working for the same agency, Killian Holt stood tall with the pride of his kind, defiantly discarding the ice blocks that were our lifeline. He proclaimed with righteous fervor, Killian Holt would rather perish from the heat than compromise. Director Elliot Vance, the senior personnel director, hearing this, praised him endlessly and decided to promote Killian Holt instead of me, leaving me to suffer from thirst. Later, I was reborn, watching coldly as Killian Holt was locked away in a confined space. He begged me to take him with me, and I smirked wickedly. I want there to be no more beast men in this world. Director Elliot Vance assigned us our tasks. Killian Holt cleaned his dusty fur and stood proudly among a group of people, looking particularly spirited. Everyone glanced between him and me, seemingly unable to tell who was the beast man and who was human. Killian Holt rolled his eyes at me and said, "Hey, boss, tough times don't faze me. Gotta stay chill, right? One must remain calm and composed in any situation. We cannot let ourselves become flustered." Tobias Reed found this amusing. "So composed, though you're a beast man, that's quite rare." Killian Holt smiled gently at Tobias Reed and replied, "I'm a beast man, but I've picked up a thing or two, man. I know that in adversity, one must maintain inner peace." "Good, well said," Tobias Reed said, admiration shining in his eyes. "With such composure and understanding, it would be a waste for you to work as a temperature monitor. Why not become an operator on the third floor instead?" In the agency, the first floor was the hottest and driest, while the third floor was where the superhumans worked, cool and comfortable. Although both jobs were entry-level, working on the third floor was far more pleasant than on the first. After arranging for Killian Holt, Tobias Reed turned to me, his gaze tinged with disdain. Tobias Reed, reporting to Vance, said, "If even Killian Holt is so sensible, why are you so flustered? You can stay on the first floor as a temperature monitor." Just like in my previous life, Killian Holt benefited while I was left to wallow in misery. Tobias Reed is really something. Just like that, he separated me from my master. I don't want to be apart from you at all. However, as long as I work diligently, it doesn't matter where I am, right, master? What nonsense. Not only was the temperature monitoring job exhausting, but Ben, the department head, was particularly oppressive. The heat warped sensors daily, making monitoring a deadly task. In my previous life, when I first arrived at the temperature monitoring department, I happened to encounter Ben in a foul mood. He paced around me, ordering me to measure the outside temperature one moment and the agency's air pressure the next, leaving me no time to rest. Naturally, I was unhappy and argued with him, which only angered him further. He assigned all of his tasks to me, making me work day and night without a break. I toiled from dawn until dusk, never pausing for a moment. Meanwhile, Killian Holt lounged in the operator room, sipping tea and answering calls, growing plump and well-fed. One night, after finally finishing my work and preparing to rest, Ben forced me to work overtime recalibrating sensors. He sneered, "Keep up, or you'll be out here monitoring heat all night." Unable to endure any longer, I splashed the foot-soaking water all over him. Furious, he jumped up, ready to hit me. Fortunately, that day, Deputy Director Simon heard the commotion and came to my rescue. He casually checked my work logs from the past few days and, seeing my diligence and responsibility, decided to promote me. From misfortune came fortune, and I was overjoyed, but then Killian Holt suddenly appeared. He rushed in, clutching a thick stack of call logs, wearing a hastily thrown-on shirt, looking anxious. Killian Holt was right there. He seemed oblivious, his face flushed with worry as he asked, "Master, I took over a dozen calls today, but my notes are too vague. What should I do?" It's all my fault. I stayed up too late taking notes yesterday and didn't sleep well, so I'm careless today." He was clearly seeking my advice but gave me no chance to speak, his brow furrowed in distress. "How important is the information from those calls? If I get it wrong, how much trouble could it cause?" As he rambled on, flipping through his notes, he recounted who had called and what they said, and what actions he had taken. Simon's expression grew increasingly approving. Coincidentally, one of the calls he received was from a superhuman agency in another province, offering to send us supplies. With those supplies, both the safe house and the agency could enjoy a few more hearty meals. Simon was thrilled, believing that Killian Holt's diligence and responsibility would bring good fortune. That day, Killian Holt was the one promoted. Meanwhile, I remained in the temperature monitoring department. I asked Killian Holt, "Didn't you want to work alongside me? If you're promoted, you'll be on the 5th floor, further away from me." The excitement on Killian Holt's face hadn't faded. He waved his hand dismissively. "What do you know? Who would choose to suffer on the 1st floor when they could enjoy life on the 5th? Ben had expected me to leave, but when I returned, he hesitated to make things difficult for me, wary of the newly promoted Killian Holt. Little did he know, Killian Holt took the initiative to come to the temperature monitoring department and, in front of Ben, drew a line between us. Even though we are master and servant, in the agency, one must stand on their own merits. I can't interfere with your work, you know. Soon, this statement spread throughout the agency, and everyone praised him for his noble character and fairness. However, Ben sensed a hint of betrayal and began to bully me even more, often sending me outside the agency to monitor the rising temperatures. When Killian Holt heard about this, he merely said, "It's all part of the job." In the sweltering heat, I had no water. I asked someone to send a message to Killian Holt, asking him to prepare some water for me since he was now a leader and could likely get more than I could. But Killian Holt told the messenger, "How can you be so spineless? Having a master like you is a disgrace to me. There are rules to follow, and when working, one must not be distracted." I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to stay upright. But eventually, I stumbled and fell to the ground, the heat radiating like a furnace. I lay there, my consciousness fading. In my days, I seemed to see the day the apocalypse began. As the temperature rose, everyone received some ice blocks. But Killian Holt smashed his ice block with determination, declaring, "A Killian Holt would rather perish from the heat than compromise." Killian saw ice as a human chain, a betrayal of Wolf Clan pride. He craved status, and rejecting ice proved his defiance to humans. The ice shattered and quickly melted. In my past life, while others used their ice to cool down and made it to the safe house, I was left in that sweltering place, dying of thirst. In this life, Killian Holt repeated his old tricks. He smiled gently at Tobias Reed, preparing to deliver that same righteous speech. Suddenly, I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. My blood boiled, his past life betrayals demanded justice. Killian Holt looked shocked, about to speak, but I quickly retaliated with another slap. After a few exchanges, his face was completely swollen. He was both angry and desperate, calling for help. I kicked him to the ground and straddled him, raining down punches. Others finally reacted and rushed over to pull me away. Tobias Reed was utterly shocked. "Why are you hitting people so casually?" Killian Holt, covering his face, stammered, "Even if you're jealous of me, you shouldn't hit me in front of Tobias Reed. He's responsible for personnel assignments, and if the director finds out about today's fight, who knows how he'll punish Tobias Reed. You're a beast man, Killian. No rights here, so don't play victim. Are you planning to ride on my back from now on?" Tobias Reed had intended to scold me lightly, but upon hearing Killian Holt's words, he felt a chill run down his spine and ordered, "Throw her out. We don't need troublemakers in this agency." Tobias Reed, that's a reasonable point. Just then, Director Kevin walked in, glancing between me and Killian Holt.